the rest of the participants. So good afternoon to everyone. Thank you very much for joining this session, the MSCA Doctoral Networks and Postdoctoral Fellowships webinar, which is going to be recorded. Just few housekeeping rules before we actually start. Please keep your microphones muted. The camera can be on and or off. It is up to you. If you have any questions, you can always ask them during the presentation in the chat box, or else we'll have dedicated Q&A sessions after the presentations between the two sessions, after the doctoral networks and after the postdoctoral fellowships. So yes, my name is Lili Kankaya. I work at the Malta Council for Science and Technology. Malta Council for Science and Technology hosts all the Horizon Europe NCPs and also program committee members for Malta. I'm specifically NCP and program committee as well for Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions and also European Research Council. As well as also I'm responsible for the EuroAccess Malta portal. So today we have a session that is going to be just a little bit under 2 hours. We have speakers from the European Commission. We have Thomas Vizikas and Eleonora Cavaliero, who are going to present the 2 different calls, the doctoral networks and the postdoctoral fellowships. And then we also have 2 participants from Malta with successful projects from both calls, who are going to give us an overview of the projects and what is the benefit for them in participating in them. Generally, just I would like to say that we are doing good in Malta with the participation of MSCA throughout the whole Horizon Europe, but also Horizon 2020. Currently, we have around 20 ongoing projects, and most of them are for doctoral networks or postdoctoral fellowships. These calls are very attractive for us. Of course, in addition, we have more through the ERA fellowships, which we'll find out later today what they're about, but they're also a type of MSCA funded projects. So of course we would like to increase the participation. That's why we're doing sessions such as this one. We also have some in-person sessions. Yesterday we had a proposal writing workshop. We try to engage the audience and increase participation as much as possible. Without further ado, I think now I would like to give the floor to start the main part of today's webinar and to find out more about these 2 upcoming calls. First will be the doctoral networks call, which is going to open just next week. So now I would like to give the floor to our speaker from the European Commission, Thomas Vizikas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lili, for the invitation and the introduction. My name is Thomas Vizikas. I work in doctoral networks at the European Research Executive Agency, where the program is managed. I hope you can see my screen. Just a confirmation will be very good. I am the panel coordinator of the engineering panel and thus having an overview of the largest number of proposals. So I hope through the presentation of the info day for 2024, we will get enough information, but also some additional tips on how to draft successful proposals, of course, in addition to what you already received by your national contact point. I will jump straight to the presentation. The presentation has 6 distinct parts. You see 7 here because I just want to refer to the innovative training networks and to DN simply as a transition, as a smooth transition from Horizon 2020 to Horizon Europe. So as you've heard many times, an evolution, not a revolution. And I'm saying this because for those of you that you have participated in ITN projects, we believe that it's relatively straightforward to adapt your ideas and your consortia and proposals for doctoral networks. and apply again, and hopefully being successful as well. The first part of the presentation will be about the MSCA work program in general, and let's start with the objective, the general objective, which is to be a world reference for research and training. And we do this for more than 25 years now by training researchers, developing skills and careers, promoting excellent bottom-up research, one of the very few programs together with ERC. One of the main pillars of the program is the international cross-sectoral and interdisciplinary collaborations, and these are key words when you prepare your proposals and start thinking of the project, but also when you apply the research during the implementation. MSCA is also known for the attractive working conditions, and this brings new talent in Europe. So you may likely get better fellows through these projects. And finally, the strong aspect is, as I said, the collaboration with industry and SMEs, the intersectoral collaboration. And all this aims to structure and have impact for the entire European research area and develop excellent programs. The MSCA is part of Horizon Europe, the research and innovation framework program of the European Commission for the years 21 and until 27. Before that, it was Horizon 2020. And you will see that there was a quite steep increase in the budget, almost reaching 100 billion euros, being one of the largest research and innovation programs in the entire world. The structure of the program is the same to a large extent with Horizon 2020. It has 3 pillars, and actually the first pillar is about bottom-up research and excellent science, having 25 billion euros on it, and MSCA is part of it with 6.6 billion, so quite a generous funding. Having said that, the MSCA actions have 5 distinct parts. You will hear also about postdoctoral fellowships. To most researchers, probably is the most famous part of the program, I must say, but at the same time, the doctoral networks, although not necessarily being the most famous, has the largest part of the funding. And this year for the call 2024, the funding has a steep increase to 600, almost 10 million euros. In terms of calendar, the call will open next week, and the deadline will be at the end of November. This is the same planning practically as we had for the call 2023. And for those of you that you were applicants, I think it's already time to start preparing the proposals because time flies until the call deadline. I referred already to the steep increase in the budget from 435 million to almost 610 million. And to the largest extent, this is because of the association of UK, who has a strong interest in MSCA actions. Therefore, probably we'll expect more proposals, but the funding is almost 30% larger, which means in practice that we expect also the success rates to increase, to be seen, of course, at the end of the evaluation. Let's focus now more on the doctoral networks. And what we mean by a doctoral network project is one consortium. So this is not mono-beneficiary proposals. This is the biggest difference with postdoctoral fellowships. It's one consortium consisting usually of academia, industry, and sometimes even public sector. There is a research project behind it, which consists of different individual projects that are linked together into a common methodology to deliver research and training to the fellows. And the fellows in this case are doctoral candidates who are expected eventually at the end of the project also, first of all, to be enrolled for a PhD, but at the end of the project, eventually to receive the PhD degree as well. There are 3 modes of implementation in the Common Horizon Europe language, probably something similar to types of action. The standard one, the doctoral networks, which is about training and academia and in industry. And there are also two other modes that are a bit more complex. One is the industrial doctorate. So here we are talking about mandatory participation of industry and mandatory time spent in the industry for the fellows. And the difference is also mandatory joint supervision from academic and non-academic supervisors. The second enhanced mode is the joint doctorates. Here we are talking about delivering joint degrees or multiple degrees. And this is the biggest challenge for these networks, but also the biggest advantage for the fellows. There are also aspects like joint selection and supervision, selection during the recruitment and supervision during the implementation of the project that must be respected. Eventually, you can imagine this JD and ID modes of implementation as advanced doctoral networks. The big difference between Horizon 2020 and Horizon Europe is that the joint doctorates and industrial doctorates are not evaluated anymore in different budget lines, but they are evaluated directly under the scientific panels that we have in MSCA. And therefore, they compete directly with the doctoral networks, but under the same thematic. The 2024 features have been slightly updated beyond, I must say, the evolution that happened from H 2020 to Horizon Europe. There is a gradual evolution and simplification. We would like to believe that this is for the benefit of the applicants. In the consecutive years from 2021 up to now 2024 call. So for starters, the duration of the projects are now 540 person months, which is a good relief for many applicants, because this allows actually to recruit more doctoral candidates. So 540 means in practice 15 fellows per project. The duration of the project is 48 months, with the exception of joint doctorates, which is 60 months, because they have the additional challenge to give joint or multiple degrees. The fellowship time for every fellow is up to 36 months, so 3 years funded under MSCA, with the exception of joint doctorates that they have 4 years funded, and this is a big incentive to apply now for joint doctorates. When it comes to secondments, there is the secondments actually, I must say that they first help the fellow to be exposed to different types of working environments and also to different sectors, and also can be a good way to comply with the requirements for industrial doctorates. So the big difference between the three modes is that for doctoral networks, the secondments are limited up to 1/3 of the fellowship duration. This is practically 1 year. And for the other modes, there are not any limitations in the secondments. Often we are asked the question, is there a minimum secondment time? No, there is not a minimum secondment time. But of course, the whole idea about the program is about mobility, about exposures to different sectors, and therefore secondments are encouraged. Also for other aspects that there are distinct for the joint and industrial doctorates, there should be a joint admission, selection, and training and supervision. And the same applies for industrial doctorates, where the joint supervision is mandatory. The letters of pre-agreement are actually requested now in Horizon Europe, and they should be part of the proposal, and the template is given. For the expected outcomes, why do we do all these projects, and what we aim to gain at the end of the DN project is actually to deliver both benefits for the doctoral candidates and also for the participating organizations. And the final outcome should be a fellow who has good skills, being creative, uh, has an innovation mindset, and also the drive to deliver good products, services, and research for the benefit of the society. This comes from the exposure to different sectors, such as the non-academic and academic sector, and by having all this exposure during the project in different sectors, settings, trainings, etc., the fellow will gain transferable skills and also have international experience, which means that in practice, this will create an innovation mindset and also achieve long-term employability for the fellow. And of course, for the participating organization, new networks are established and new networking opportunities for future research. And finally, for especially the academic parts, there are also new um, feedback for the teaching and education that they have already as education institutes. The expected incomes impacts, if I try to summarize it in one sentence, is to strengthen the European research area. And we do this by training fellows to have high skills, to attract, retain, and train fellows and talents in Europe, and also to enhance the circulation. This will lead to a sustainable competitiveness based on research and evidence-based policies, and also strong collaboration and new links between academic and non-academic sector. You have heard finally about open science, innovation, and entrepreneurship. These are pillars for delivering a new Europe, a competitive Europe with a strong economy and social cohesion. Moving now to more practical and administrative aspects about the eligibility. So when you prepare a proposal, you should comply with the eligibility conditions, otherwise your proposal will not be evaluated. And the minimum aspects are to have 3 independent legal entities. One must be from an EU member state. Of course, if you apply from Malta, this condition is already fulfilled. But please be careful not to make too small consortia that you don't have any enough country participation. All beneficiaries, and this is a difference from Horizon 2020, must recruit at least one doctoral candidate, minimum 3 months, as I explained earlier. And the idea is also that not more than 40% of the EU funding goes to a single country. And this is because we would like strong collaborations and not very small consortia comprising from beneficiaries only from a few member states. On top of this, industrial and joint doctorates have additional eligibility criteria. I will talk about it in a moment. And finally, there is a new restriction for the call 2024. I need to correct this, Lily, sorry. And this is for the proposal scoring below 80, so the condition is the same. But as the time progresses in Horizon Europe, we become stricter and stricter with this condition. So you will see later in the presentation how you must comply with it. Doctoral networks and eligible participants. Practically here, I would like to mention that as with any other part of the Horizon Europe, any legal entity can apply from anywhere in the world. But as I mentioned, not everyone is automatically eligible for funding. If you come from a member state or an associated country, yes. And also some third countries are automatically eligible for funding, which is explained in the Horizon guidance. For the consortia, they can be any type of legal entity. Usually in doctoral networks, these are universities, research institutes, and also some private sector, namely the industry. On top of this, we have associated partners, not beneficiaries, and there is no maximum or minimum number of partners. This should be based on the needs of your project. The next thing that I would like to refer to is about academic and non-academic sector to avoid the confusion and to have a common language. So academic sector, of course, is the universities. Practically here we talk about public or private higher education establishments and public or private non-profit research organizations. Sometimes this has caused confusion with the applicants, considering that since they are not universities, they are not academic sector, but please check the definition of the European Commission on this matter, because all this is considered academic sector. And especially if you apply for an industrial doctorate, this may cause issues with the eligibility of your proposal. Non-academic sector in our language is any other socioeconomic actor that is not part of the academic sector. So the definition is by exclusion. When we are talking about private for-profit businesses, definitely they belong to the non-academic sector. But before submitting your proposal, ensure that your participants have been defined correctly as academic or non-academic. About the eligible countries, automatically eligible, as I said already, are the member states and or overseas countries and territories. Also the Horizon Europe associated countries, but the low and medium and middle income countries as well, as referred to the Horizon program guide. Finally, there are specific cases like EU bodies, international organizations. These are, I must say, rarer cases, so I will not delve into it. In any case, please check and visit the program guide before applying, especially if you have countries that they don't belong in member states or associated countries. And here is a list and links for the Horizon program guide and a list of participating countries. Be careful, United Kingdom is now an associated country for the call 2024, but Switzerland is still not an associated country. As you understand from the recent developments also, this list may change depending on the agreements between countries. There are also other countries that have joined, like New Zealand, for example. Please check before you apply that you are automatically eligible for funding. Regarding the fellows to be considered doctoral candidates, and this comes later in the implementation of the project, they should not have a doctoral degree. And the recruitment process should follow the principles of open, merit-based, and transparent. They must now in Horizon Europe enroll in a doctoral program. There are no restrictions about the nationalities, but there is a restriction about mobility, which is not to have main activities or to reside in the country for more than 12 months in the 36 months prior to the recruitment date. This is mainly for the project implementation, but I put it here because some applicants may consider that they write the project for the fellows that they already have in mind. This is not the case, fortunately. Moving now to the types of participants, the distinction between beneficiaries and associated countries. I will not go line by line here. This is for you to know in which cases someone is a beneficiary and when they should be associated partners. When there is a recruitment, there must be beneficiaries, if I can summarize it in one sentence. Regarding the specific conditions that I mentioned about joint doctorates, please, in the proposal, explain the joint, double, and multiple PhD degrees, because this is important. Also, please have the pre-agreement letters, otherwise the proposal will not be eligible. And now consider also that you can use up to 60 months for the network and up to 48 months per fellowship. For the ID-specific conditions, 50% of the time must be spent in the non-academic sector. This doesn't mean that it has to be multiple recruitment by different beneficiaries. However, it should be very clear in the proposal how you comply with this minimum time spent in the non-academic sector, how the fellows will apply. I would say make it in a clear table so they know, the evaluators and ourselves as project officers, when we check the eligibility for the proposal, that this is very clear. There is no also secondment limitation, and please include how the fellows will be jointly supervised. Moving now to one of the favorite parts of doctoral networks and MSCA in general, which is the funding mechanism. This is the simplest version of funding mechanism probably that you can find in Horizon and also national programs. And this is the unit cost. So for every month spent of a researcher, this translates to all other cost categories being automatically granted. Therefore, there are no actual costs, there are no specifically said overheads, there are no depreciations or anything like this. It's very simple scheme. And this is, I will present it in short. First of all, we have the cost for the researchers, so this left-hand side for the table of the table, and the institutional cost, the right-hand side. And this is the living allowance that is now has been increased as of the call 2024 to 4,010 euros, which is multiplied by a country correction coefficient to ensure that the fellows have similar purchasing power in the different countries. There is also a mobility allowance, which is also a fixed amount given to all fellows. And finally, a family allowance, which is 660 euros, on the condition that one has a family, a recognized family um, from a member state. Important here is a big difference with Horizon 2020 that the family status can change at any point during the project implementation, and this is a good advantage for the fellows because it's not only at the beginning of the project, but whenever they have a family status. The long-term leave allowance and the special needs, I will not explain in detail now. You will not include it in the proposals anyway, but if there is need, just to know that there is good support also for the fellows if they have special needs or need long-term leave. For the institutions, there are two fixed amounts that they are given. One is the research training and networking cost. This is again for the benefit of the fellows, because from this you can pay open access fees, conference participations, secondments, etc. And there is also a part of 1,200 euros per person month spent of every researcher. And this is practically for management costs, for hiring a project management manager, for example, some overheads of the university, etc. I would like now to focus on some novelties from the previous call, which I must say are very welcome from the community. First of all, the increase of the unit costs. The inflation is hopefully not here to stay, but has caused quite a burden to the fellows. So after many requests, the unit costs were increased, so have moved to 4,000 euros now before taxes, and the mobility allowance also has increased to 710 euros. The other novelty is the resubmission restrictions. As I said at the beginning, we have more concrete rules now on how to assess the resubmissions, and this is based on the similarity of the consortium composition. So if your consortium from the previous call is 70% similar for the recruiting organizations, then we will check in more detail your proposal if it is actually a submission. As applicants, you have the obligation to report it in part A of the proposal, but also now you know exactly how we will do the checks. And if your proposal has received a score below 80% in the previous evaluation, and there is high similarity of the recruiting organizations, we'll check in more detail and we may declare your proposal ineligible. Therefore, first of all, please be honest when you make the self-declaration in Part A. And second, ensure if you plan to resubmit that your proposal is sufficiently different from the previous one. And another simplification is for joint doctorates, that now the eligibility condition has moved from um, at least 2 EU member states or associated countries to at least 1 when it comes to enrollment in doctoral degrees. And this is also a very big simplification, and considering also the 48 months of fellowship and the 60 months for the project duration, this would be good in incentives for the joint doctorates to receive more applications this year. And this is a summary of everything that I went through the presentation so far, so you have it in one place. And I will say before closing a few words about the evaluation criteria and some tips on how to write good proposals. The evaluation process has concrete steps, and this is the case for all Horizon calls, with the aim to have transparency and an objective evaluation. The evaluation is done by independent expert evaluators in all Horizon programs, and this is no difference for MSCA doctoral networks. So first we receive the proposals, we do the admissibility and eligibility checks. That's why I said it's very important that you check yourselves that you comply with the rules that I referred before. If a proposal is not admissible or eligible, then the evaluation stops here. But for the majority of the proposals, of course, which are eligible, we move to individual evaluation. We have minimum 3 evaluators per proposal, and this is done all remotely without the evaluators influencing each other. Once they submit their individual reports, then there is a consensus group, and with the assistance also of vice chairs and chairs who are also independent experts, we develop the consensus report, which is the final also outcome that is received as an evaluation summary report to the applicants. Before sending, of course, everything to the applicants, since we manage more than 1,000 proposals, we have a panel review where we check that there is consistency among the different evaluations for the proposals, and ensure that there is fairness to all applicants through a second check that we do here in Brussels with vice chairs and chairs. And finally, this ranking list and the outcome of the evaluation is communicated to the applicants, and roughly within 8 months from the call deadline, the new proposals become grant agreements and the projects can start. Here is an overview of the award criteria in doctoral networks. So we have, as in most programs in Horizon Europe, excellence, impact, and implementation. And here you can see the evaluation criteria and sub-criteria. Some things to note: the weighting is the highest for the excellence, so 50%, 30 for the impact, and 20 for the implementation. However, this doesn't mean that marks are not missed in any criterion. We have seen very good proposals losing marks because the risk mitigation strategy is not credible, or because they didn't explain well how the work packages are well connected and they are in line with the methodology. So every part of the proposal is important. That's about the different criteria. And also to mention that there is different priority for proposals that they have the same score, something that in the work program is referred to as ex aequo criteria. So when proposals have exactly the same total score, priority is given to the proposals that they have highest score in excellence. If they have the same score in excellence, then to the proposal that has the highest score in impact. In our case, this is important because many proposals, as you very well know, compete at around the 95 threshold line, and we need to prioritize. So it's important to know how the prioritization is done when proposals receive the same score. And I would advise you also to check the other ex-aequo criteria, such as the gender balance among the supervisors. So in case of same scores, to be able, let's say, to get priority and win the funding. All this that I discussed, they can be found in the application webpage, which is the EU Funding and Tenders portal, the single-stop shop. And there you can find all the guide for applicants, proposal templates, the work program, and these are very important documents that you need to read before applying. Also, there is part A when you apply, which is the structured data, the details of the organizations, and part B, which is the narrative of your proposal, the description of action. Now, some tips for proposal preparation. I hope this will be appreciated. So first of all, when you start drafting a proposal, make sure that you have a good novel idea and a clear plan. And the clear plan should be both in terms of methodology, but also implementation, risk mitigation strategy, and this should be convincing enough for a third person, and this third person is the evaluator. So make sure that you present how your idea is novel, innovative, etc., and how your plan and methodology are credible. Remember also that you apply for doctoral networks, and in this case, the training and the skills development of the researchers is core part of the program, and therefore this should be very clear in your proposal how you do this well and in a good and credible way. I referred to before that it's very important to read the work program and the guidance documents, because also there it's explained in the introduction what is the spirit of the program, and it would be good to understand it before applying. When you apply, please use the latest proposal template, and I highlight this because every year we do some simplifications, and every year we include some explanation based on the experience that we get from the evaluation. Therefore, use it for your advantage, read it carefully, and prepare your proposal accordingly. There are also some aspects over the years that have moved from the description of action in part B1 to part B2. And these are aspects, on one hand, are not evaluated, so please don't waste time and space in your proposal to explain them, because you don't gain any scores on them. Still, they are part of part B2, of course, but you can use this space to explain other aspects that they are evaluated in part B1. Moreover, apart from the proposal template, in the application webpage in the funding and tenders portals, you can read also the evaluation form. So understand on which aspects the evaluators will be asked to evaluate your proposal, and prepare your proposal very well for these aspects. I mentioned before, do not underestimate any part of the proposal, despite the fact that we are under excellence pillar, and also excellence has the highest weighting. This doesn't mean that you cannot lose scores anywhere else in your proposal. So please be mindful about this. And write each section clearly using tables, indicators where applicable. So this gives a clarity to the evaluator, who has, of course, limited time to read the proposal, and make it easy for them. Write each part of the proposal in coherence with everything else, especially because there is a high rate of resubmission. Sometimes there are updates in the proposal that they are not in line anymore with the other parts of the proposal. So please try to avoid confusion and doubts. And a good way to do this is by having an internal peer review with your consortium partners, so you know that the proposal is well updated and coherent. I would suggest everyone to consult the national contact points, even experienced applicants, because they can get very useful tips to prepare their proposal. Important is also to prepare well and complete well part A, and especially regarding the participating organizations, because there you have the academic, non-academic aspect that I mentioned, which is critical for the industrial doctorates. Finally, start preparing very early. Already now you have all the call documents, so do not wait until last minute, not only to prepare, but also do not wait until the very last day to apply, because we have seen some unfortunate events that people miss the deadline for just a few seconds. And finally, as a motto, keep in mind that think like an evaluator when drafting your proposal, and also write your proposal for an evaluator to make it easy and clear for them when they evaluate it. Beyond the National Info Day that you have now, we also have a Call Info Day, which will take place on the 7th of June. This is open to everyone, so you can already register and also send your questions via Slido. And finally, the resources that we have. These are links to all the call documents that I referred to during my presentation. I highlight also a few more here, like the Green Charter, the Guidelines on Supervision, the Annotated Model Grant Agreement. But especially for these three here, I would say keep it in mind and make reference to your proposals when you draft it, because these are key documents and key guidelines for the implementation of doctoral networks. Finally, if you have any questions, Lily is here to help. And also you can send your questions through the research inquiry service, and will eventually arrive to us if you have something very specific. But first line of communication is better to use the national contact points. Finally, we did two recent studies. One is on industrial doctorates, and this is an outcome of a cluster event that also has best practices and lessons learned, and also the innovative dimensions of MSCA. In preparation of your proposal, it would be good to have a look at the recommendations there. You may get some good ideas as a final tip, if I may say. Finally, for the experts that we have around, if you don't plan to apply, please register as experts and also send us your contact details. We can include you in the pool, and instead of an applicant, you can support the program by evaluating the proposals and also gain valuable experience there. And here is where I close with an inspirational quote from Marie Curie. We cannot build a better world without improving the individuals, and this is all about the MSCA actions. Thank you very much. Lily, back to you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. This was very informative and very interesting presentation. And yes, I very much like this final quote. So let's hope that we can do so. I'm not going to open the floor for questions now, because we have the next speaker who will present the successful doctoral networks project in practice, because maybe some questions might be related to that. And then we can open the floor for some questions from the participants to close off the doctoral networks session. So yes, without further ado, now I'll give the floor to Alessio Bucaioni, who works here at a private company, Westrade, and the project is TM. So the floor is yours, Alessio.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Lily. Thank you for the invitation. Good afternoon to everybody. I'm just here to integrate the second part of the presentation done up to now with a concrete testimonial of a project which is ongoing, which is called DM, Doctoral Network Proposal. And just to show you, 1 second. Okay, so just some few words about my company. My company, I am the CEO of the Westrade, is a Maltese company, and we are experiencing R&D project. In particular, we pay several efforts in the ICT solution with wide experience especially in blockchain, artificial intelligence, and machine learning. We've been awarded in 2022 one doctoral network project, DM, and together with a consortium, which is a wide consortium mixing up organization, academic organization, governmental, and industry. In particular, the scope of our project was try to study more in depth the impact of distributed ledger technologies like blockchain in real applications. So the project includes the proposal from 12 different doctoral candidates which have been selected through a specific process, and these candidates are doing part of their job in academic entities and part of their job in the industry. The idea is to share and present different parallel projects on different aspects of blockchain that may be applicable to private and public entities in order to, let's say, improve this application of blockchain technology to the current studies. This is the list of partners. The coordinator is the University of Amsterdam, and as you can see, I mean, we have a large consortium which includes as well associated partners which finally were interested to join the outcome of this research. Just a few words on the importance of the coordinator. I think one of the suggestions that we can give is that it's important that the coordinator is familiar with this kind of application, because there are several rules that have to be followed, and obviously there is the need of a good organization in the project, because that's one of the preliminary part. As you can see, the project involves different entities. So Ministry of Digital Governance is from Greece, for example, a governmental agency, plus university like University of Amsterdam and other university, for example, in Spain, and private company like us or like Accenture from France, and the different associated partners that are involved in this project. The project is, as I said, is focused on the development of 12 specific parallel research project. As we said, we have done the first part of recruitment of doctoral candidates, which was not an easy task, because obviously you have to provide evidence of the selection criteria of the doctoral candidates, and therefore the selection process shall be done in transparency and obviously with all the elements which ensures that the process is absolutely a clear and straightforward process. These people are spending 50% of their fellowship during non-academic sector. This is an important step, because now in the preliminary phase, these doctoral candidates are, let's say, studying and are doing their research in academic entities. And then at the second part of the project, they are moving to different organization of the consortium in order to, let's say, land what they have studied in concrete action. This is an important step. We have our project divided in different work packages, but the candidates, despite they are doing parallel research, are jointly using the outcomes of their research in their project. I think probably what is important from my point of view is provide you the key points that we recommend to potential future applicant of this call. I think for sure the participation to this kind of project extend collaboration at UE level, which is fundamental for company like my company, and it's important because you get in touch to different entities, different academic entities, industrial entities, and governmental entities, which can provide you, let's say, an added value on your day-by-day operation. It is also an entry point for future call. Most of the partners that we are collaborating are calling us now for other calls in other subjects, because once you get in touch with companies and the work is productive, they take you in consideration for future calls. So autonomously, it becomes, let's say, a sort of entry point for other opportunities. Third point is, from our point of view, in the specific, the application of blockchain technology, we could land through this project to our line of business. Obviously, we enter into this project because we are interested to understand how this kind of distributed ledger technologies may be applied to products of our portfolio, and we are benefiting of the research study, parallel research study that are currently in place. This brings automatically an improvement of internal process and procedures, which is usually one part that from the industrial point of view, we don't always have time. So we are always in a hurry to run project and be operational. So we don't dedicate sometimes internally much time to improve our internal process and procedures and how this can benefit of let's say, new technologies. In this case, you can benefit of, let's say, this kind of support from experience and skill resource. In our case, 2 people are coming to Malta starting from February 2025. And I think it would be, let's say, in an added value also from my team point of view, because they could work jointly, and we will try to mix up, in particular, the experience on some of our products and how these products that we have in our portfolio can use blockchain technology, taking into consideration, let's say, the studies that these researchers have done up to now. I think it's important because, as I said, you dedicate resources to your portfolio. If you want to look more about these projects, these are the link. There is a website, a Facebook and LinkedIn. And let's say, as a conclusion of my short testimonials, I would stress out that it's important to participate to such call because it's a huge growth for the company. Sometimes we underestimate the importance of participating to this research because it's a way really to improve internally your staff competence, your staff skills, and also your approach to the new project. And therefore, my testimonial is obviously much more than positive. I try to be very short. Thank you very much to everybody.
Thank you very much, Alessio. Very interesting to hear, yes, how things work in practice and what are the benefits for the actual organizations to participate in the Doctoral Networks call. Now, I would like to ask the audience if there are any questions in relation to those 2 last presentations that we had. Is everything clear with how the Doctoral Networks call works? Maybe there are some questions to Thomas or myself that I can answer, or anything that you would like to ask Alessio at that point. Please, you may raise your hand or put the question in the chat. Now is the time before we open the second session. Okay, seems that is clear.
Hi, Lily.
Yes?
Can I? Sorry,
Yes,
I was
please.
a little bit shy. Hi, Sebastiano D'Amico, Geoscience, University of Malta.
Hi.
Just to clarify, you said that, if I understood correctly, the Doctoral Network project lasts for 2 years, right? Minimum of 2 years, up to 60 months. Am I right?
No, up to 4 years.
Can you hear me?
Up to 4 years. 4 years, 48 months is the duration of the
Hello?
project.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we do hear you. Do you hear me?
Sorry, you were. Yes. Sorry
Okay,
about that.
so it's 4
I'll
years.
repeat again.
4.
So
4.
Up to 4 years. Okay, perfect. So because then our doctorate studies, let's say, last 3 years, and then we need time for recruitment and stuff. So the first year, I assume, is budget and accounted for, right? And then the next 3 years for implementing the project proposals, right?
Yeah, generally you can start before, but it will take time to prepare the actual opening of the course for the positions. So yeah, there are no set time frame for that, but let's say it will take a few months to open the call, then to recruit the actual PhD candidates, and then at the end of the project you also have to leave some months for reporting, maybe, you know, to finalize everything. But yeah, it's
right. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Yep, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no more questions from the audience, I think we can now start. I mean, in the meantime, if anything you remember that you want to ask, just put it in the chat in the chat box. Now, I would like to invite the next speaker. It's Eleonora Cavallero from the European Commission, who is going to present the other MSCA call, which is actually the most popular call throughout Horizon Europe, is the postdoctoral fellowship call. Yes, Eleonora, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you see my screen? Just to double check.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So it's a pleasure to be here to introduce the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship and to talk you through the 2024 call. So today I will give you a short introduction on the postdoctoral fellowships, explain you the main objectives and the eligibility criteria applicable to this call. We will talk through the application and evaluation process, and then we will go through some of the common errors and the most frequent mistakes during the proposal submissions, and then I will give you some information on the ERA fellowships, which represents for those proposals that are hosted in a widening country, further chances for your proposal to be funded. So my colleague Thomas has already introduced you the MSCA project actions under the Horizon Europe. Today, now we will focus on postdoctoral fellowships, so support to excellent postdoctoral researchers. So what's the ultimate goal of the MSCA postdoctoral fellowship? So we want to enhance the creative and innovative potential of researchers holding a PhD, wishing, and this is a key point, so postdoctoral researchers, wishing to acquire new skills through advanced training, international, interdisciplinary, and intersectoral mobility. The call is open. It opened on the 23rd April 2024. If you wish to submit, the deadline that you have to keep in mind is the 11th September 2024, 5 p.m. Brussels time. Now, as my colleague Thomas anticipated, please do not wait till the last minute to submit your proposal. This is a key point. So start as soon as possible. The budget set aside for the PF, MSCA PF has increased compared to the previous call. So we have a budget of more than 400 million for this call. We also have higher living and mobility allowance and revised country coefficients. As anticipated by Thomas, this is to accommodate the increasing cost of living that unfortunately we are all experiencing. So what are the main features of postdoctoral fellowships? So it's a monobeneficiary action. So we have one researcher and one host organization. The host organization can be either in the academic on academic sector and must be based in a member state or Horizon Europe associated country. Important note that was already mentioned before during the previous presentation, as of 1st of January 2024, UK became an associated country to Horizon Europe, which means that United Kingdom organizations are now able to host researchers, apply and receive funding under this call, okay? Then we have two types of postdoctoral fellowship, the European fellowship and the global fellowship. I will provide you with more detail soon after. It's a bottom-up program, so open to all research domains. And in general, it's open to excellent researchers of any nationality, although restrictions apply for a global fellowship and Euratom, because it's open to all research domains, including those covered by the treaty establishing the European Atomic Energy Community, okay? Now, the main schemes, the two schemes under the postdoctoral fellowship. We have two schemes as anticipated, the European fellowships, and I must say that this is the most popular schemes, and the global fellowships. So what are the main differences between the two? So European fellowships are open to researchers of any nationality who moves to a host organization in an EU member state or Horizon Europe associated countries to carry out their research project for a minimum of 12 months to a maximum of 24 months. Global fellowship. Here we have a restriction. So global fellowships are open to researchers from a member state or Horizon Europe associated country. And it involves two phases. One outgoing phases to a third country for a minimum of 12 and a maximum of 24 months. And then a return phase of 12 months in the host institution based in the member state or associated country. Now, no matter the schemes that you choose, at the end, and I underline this, at the end of your fellowships, you can add a non-academic placement. Non-academic placement meaning a host, an experience in a host organization in the non-academic sector based in a member state or in a Horizon Europe associated country. Okay, so we will share this presentation with you. Here you have some key points regarding the MSCA postdoctoral fellowships. Now, let's jump right into one of the hottest topics, so the eligibility criteria. So researchers, to be eligible, have to be compliant with three important rules. Four. So first of all, they have to be postdoctoral researchers. What does it mean in practice? Researchers must be in possession of a doctoral degree before call deadline, so 11 September 2024. If not yet awarded, there must be an unconditional defense of your doctoral thesis before call deadline. We already mentioned that for European fellowship, a researcher can be of any nationality. For global fellowship, they have to be national or long-term resident of a member state or Horizon Europe associated country. Another important eligibility criterion is the research experience after PhD. So researchers must have up to a maximum 8 years research experience after PhD. Exceptions apply. So if you took career breaks, parental leave, national service, so on, these periods can be deducted. This has to be listed in the submission, and specific tool have been developed by the European Research Executive Agency to help you calculate your research experience. And then final eligibility criterion is the so-called mobility rule. What does it mean in practice? It means that researchers must not have resided or carry out the main activity in the country of the beneficiary for European fellowships, or the host or the outgoing phase for global fellowship for more than 12 months, so more than 1 year, in the 36 months immediately prior to the call deadline. So these are strict rules. So make sure that you comply with them. Now, secondments and non-academic placement. So your proposal may include an optional secondment or during the fellowship. This is a very important point. Or add a non-academic placement period at the end of your fellowship, provided that these are in line with the project objectives and add significant value and or impact to your fellowships. So secondment and non-academic placement are different in nature. They get often confused, but they are very different in nature. Why? A secondment can take place worldwide in the first place during the fellowship, so it doesn't have a dedicated budget. For European fellowship, it can last up to 1/3 of the duration of the fellowship. So let's assume that your project lasts for 24 months. It means that you can have a secondment for up to 8 months. For global fellowship, up to 1/3 of the outgoing phase. That's very important. Secondment can be divided into several short periods and can be intersectoral. This is highly recommended. Non-academic placement can be undertaken at the end of the fellowship for up to 6 months in the non-academic sector and in a member state or European Horizon Europe associated country. To be honest, the uptake so far hasn't been that huge, so up to 6% of the proposal include a secondment. And if your secondment is not in line with the criteria, it won't be taken in consideration during the evaluation process. Okay. Now, some details about the funding levels. I already mentioned that the living allowance and the mobility allowance have been increased, which means concretely that the living allowance increased from 5,000 to 5,990 euro. The mobility allowance increased from 600 to 710 euro. The living allowance, of course, is corrected by the country correction coefficient. And this is applicable only for the 2024 call onwards. Of course, if you are married or in an equivalent relationship, you have children or dependents, you are entitled to a family allowance. And as Thomas mentioned before, this can be, your family status can be modified during the course of the action as well. Now, let's talk about the proposal submission. So the proposal submission happens electronically by the funding and tender portals. There are two parts. It consists of two parts. Part A, the administrative form, and part B, the technical description. Okay, so part A, the application form. Again, here we have structured data entered in the IT system. These data include the acronym and the title of your project, which are different and possibly they have to be meaningful for the project and for the evaluators. The scientific area that has, you have to choose the best fit, and 8 scientific areas panels are available. Then you have to choose the descriptor. You can choose up to 5 descriptors which best characterize the content of your proposal in descending orders. So keep in mind that the first 3 descriptors are mandatory. And out of these 3, 2 descriptors are linked to your panel, the scientific area that you chose, while the others are unrestricted, as we encourage interdisciplinarity. If you want, if it's needed, you can add free keywords. Then you are requested to encode an abstract with a maximum of 2,000 characters. And here, I take this opportunity to remind you that there is a resubmission restriction as well for postdoctoral fellowships. So proposals with the same researcher and the same host scoring less than 70% in the previous evaluation cannot resubmit this year. Now, further information to be encoded in Part A, the researcher's personal details, the PhD award date or the date of successful defense of the doctoral thesis. If you earned your PhD more than 8 years ago, you will be requested to complete a table for extensions. And we ask you to be as precise as possible. You will also be requested to encode all countries of residence for the past 5 years and again, without gaps. And here again, precision is very important. You will also have to encode the information regarding the beneficiary, and these include the famous PIC, the Participant Information Code of the main beneficiary, of the outgoing host for global fellowship, of the non-academic host if applicable. If your proposal includes a secondment, this has to be indicated in Part A in the section other questions, yes, but you don't have to provide further information. All information attached to the secondment institution has to be included in Part B, Part B2 more precisely. And Part B. So Part B of the proposal consists of 2 documents, Part B1 and Part B2. This needs to be uploaded as separate PDF files. Part B1 is the technical description of your scientific work. There's a very strict limit page, a limit of 10 pages. Be careful, excess pages will be not evaluated, they will blank out, so don't waste your time. Respect this limit. The minimum font size is 11 points with standard spacing, and this applies to body text, but also to the text in the table, so be careful with that. How to make sure that you do not make mistake? Use the template available in the MSCA PF call page. And as Thomas highlighted before, make sure you use the right template for this call here, because guidelines change slightly, but this could hinder your application. Part B2, here we don't have a formal page limit, but please follow the recommendation in the template. Part B2 includes the CV of the researchers, the description of the capacity of the participating organization, if applicable, additional ethics and security information, environmental considerations in light of the MSCA Green Charter, and very important point, because this is a common mistake, if you apply for a global fellowship, make sure that the letter of commitment is included. Now, very few words on the evaluation process. It's a large evaluation process. We evaluate something like 10,000 proposals. It's a standard peer reviewed, so at least 3 experts will assess your proposal. Bottom up, so proposal and experts from all disciplines. We ensure expert balance in terms of experience, nationality, gender, sector, and then single stage. Okay, so once you reserve the final the evaluation summary report, that's it. No further phase will follow. So again, 3 experts at minimum, each will evaluate individually your proposal. We ensure complementarity to make sure that your proposal is fully evaluated. Then consensus and discussion phase will follow, and this is the base for the evaluation summary report that you will receive. Now, what our evaluators will look at? Well, your proposal will be assessed against three criteria: excellence, impact, quality, and efficiency of the implementation. So they have different weighting, but as Thomas mentioned before, each criterion is important, so you don't underestimate any of them. Experts will assess the quality and pertinence of the project research, the innovation objective, the soundness of the methodology, the quality of the supervision and the training plan, the competencies and experience of the researchers, the impact that the proposal will have on the researcher's career, and the quality efficiency of the implementation, the work plan, risk assessment, and the quality capacity of the organizations involved in the proposals. Proposal will be ranked and funding allocated by scientific panels. Separate ranking, there are separate ranking for European and global fellowship. A seal of excellence will be awarded to proposal that score more than 85%, but they cannot be funded due to restrictions in the budget. I already mentioned the restriction on resubmission. And the planning of the call. So the call, as anticipated, the call is not open. The deadline that you have to keep in mind is the 11th of September, 5 p.m., but please don't wait till the last minute. And the evaluation, period will run from October to January. You will receive the assessment in February, and if your project is funded, in February 2025, the so-called GAP grant agreement preparation will start, and you'll be able to start your project from April 2025 up to September 2026. Now here you have a list of the most common errors. I also included a link that will walk you through guidance on the most common errors during the proposal submissions. Again, very common: missing the call deadline, submitting under the wrong type of action, choose the European or global fellowship and make sure that you are selecting the right choice. Eligibility requirements are not respected. The limit page is not respected. You use a small font. So these, you confuse a secondment and non-academic placement. These are the most common errors. Now, very important point, European postdoctoral fellowships, where the host organization is located in an eligible widening country, and Malta is included, and which fail to score high enough to be funded under the MSCA PF 2024 call, can increase the chances of being funded by expressing they wish to participate to the ERA postdoctoral fellowships. So this is just for postdoctoral European fellowships, okay? So the ERA fellowships build on the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship 2024 action and aim at mobility and brain circulation in the widening countries, which includes Malta. Okay, so what do you have to do to take advantage of this opportunity? So in the application form, so part A, okay, you have to tick yes to the question, do you wish to participate to the ERA postdoctoral fellowship, and thus increase your chances of being funded. If you tick yes, you can take advantage of this opportunity. If you don't, you tick no, or you leave it blank, you will miss this opportunity. Concretely, what's the difference if you get funds under the ERA fellowship call? Because of budget restriction, you could not be funded under the MSCA PF 2024 call. You will be able to implement your project, but you will not formally be considered an MSCA fellow. That's the main difference. And there will be a single centralized evaluation review procedure for both MSCA PF and ERA fellowships. So this is, I hope that I didn't take too much time and that I was clear enough in the presentation that we will share with you. We have included some of the most relevant links. Of course, the MSCA work program 23-25 is one of the starting points. Then I would highly recommend to check the European Research Executive Agency website, because here in the presentation of the call, you will find detailed guidance, and particularly you will find the guide for applicants. The guide for applicants is the starting point for to submit your application. This guide will help you avoid the most common mistakes. Okay, so this is really the starting point, and then go through all the documents, use the right template. And as far as the eligibility is concerned, the Research Executive Agencies has prepared some specific tool to help you calculate your research experience, and the links are also included in the presentation and on the call page. So I hope that this is useful. I don't know that we have a testimonial, Pedro, but I leave it to Lily to introduce him.
Thank you very much, Eleonora. This was, yes, very informative and very clear presentation of this very popular call. And now, before again I open the floor for questions, I'm going to invite Pedro Pombo, who is a current fellow at the University of Malta, benefiting from the European Postdoctoral Fellowship. The floor is yours, Pedro.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Eleonora, because I was listening to you and reviving all the process that Lily also knows, because she was one of the proposers, reviewers during the process. Well, I'm very happy to be part of this meeting. And still, I mean, our Marie Curie Fellowship started a bit more than 1 year ago. It still feels some days too good to be true, because I think it's really an immense opportunity. I'm really thankful for the European funding for these type of actions, because they really have an impact in institutions and in researchers. I will make a very brief presentation of the project that we submitted. I'm based at Islands and Small States Institute in the University of Malta. And when I will talk a bit more about the process, but when I started this application, I was in India, where I was working and living. We submitted in the social science fields, and it's called Eco-Heritage, Heritage Ecologies, Cultural Climate Resilience and Development in Island States. So very briefly, we want to study how climate change impacts cultural heritages, different types of cultural heritage, and also on the reverse side, the importance of cultural heritage and knowledge for climate resilience in small islands, territories, and the role of traditional knowledge or local knowledges connected to environment, culture, and landscape. Our fields of our locations are mostly small island territories in the southwestern Indian Ocean and the island of Malta. And this is also to compose two different regions, two different continents. Some states, as Malta is a small island state. Mauritius, for example, and Seychelles are small island developing states. Mayotte and Reunion are French territories, and Comoros is also one of the least developing countries. So we have different islands in two different regions, but also very different legal and socioeconomic contexts. The objectives or what we propose is a multidisciplinary approach, and I will talk about this multidisciplinarity with the institutes I'm in, and my background and the background of the institutes. Multi-sited ethnographic research. I come from anthropology, and earlier art history, and the Small Island Sites Institute has expertise in sustainable development policy, international relations. So we are very interdisciplinary in our approach and how we built the proposal itself. It was very important for us. Different heritages, different stages of heritages. Some are listed by UNESCO as cultural landscapes, sites. Others are national heritages, and others are in the process of being considered national heritages and submitted for a UNESCO listing. So we have a very broad spectrum of listing, in the process of listing, and also highlights the relevance of islands, especially small islands, territories in the field that crosses climate change and heritage, which is a field that is growing, but still for small island states needs more work. Examples of intangible heritage. Well, for the Maltese, we have the Ftira, which is a very well-known Maltese heritage, musical traditions from Reunion, Mauritius, and Comoros, heritage sites, architectural, archaeological sites, as the temples in Malta, cultural landscapes, and natural heritages, as in Mayotte and in Seychelles. So this is a very, very, very brief and our objectives is one, contribute to the science and contribute to the study of the impacts and interconnection of climate change and different heritage in small island states, but also to provide some guidance and some consulting and contribute to the larger international institutions in this field. And this has connected also with some of the activities that I'm mentioning now. So to explain the process, why these institutes, why Malta? Well, I have never been to Malta before applying, and I was for a few years outside the European Union, not really sure if I would come back to Europe. Although these fundings are always very, they are tempting because they are really extraordinary opportunities to keep doing research and to really work in excellent environments. I saw the call by the institute in your access, and Lily also discussed this, how important it is, especially for the ones who are listening to us and thinking of applying, how important it is to check information as soon as possible. And I was in doubt, well, first because these calls, we always think that they will never happen to us in a way, because it seems, it's too big. It's really the cutoff. I mean, the cutoff line is very high. It's very competitive. But I think one of the first things just to lose the fear and think if we can actually, prepare. It's a very good exercise to prepare a proposal, even if it's a draft. And then me and Dr. Stefano Moncada, the director of the institute, at the first meetings to see how our ideas could align. And this is where interdisciplinarity comes, because it's something that in my research, I work with. Stefano's also in the institute work with. So it was very interesting to see from different perspectives how we could build a first idea draft for a proposal. And then, I wrote a first draft to send to the institute. It was approved by the institute in terms of they would want to build a serious proposal with me, which is already very good to know as a first step. And then after building the proposal, then it started the review process with the Lily. She's here, which we had several rounds of revising texts. And then with the University of Malta research support team. And I mentioned this because in my personal case, with these two institutions or two supports, I really have had an excellent support. I have a very, very highly positive perspective of it. I think even being an excellent researcher, you cannot prepare a call by yourself. It's fundamental that we understand the language of the proposals, because it's quite different than an academic article that academics are more used to, understand the eligibilities, all these more technical terms that I recognize them now, but not in the beginning, because the guidelines are quite well done, because they are extensive and really need to understand, for sometimes we think it's a detail, the proposal will not go through. And that I had a very good support. So I'm very thankful for that. And then also the long revising process. We took 6 to 7 months since I started to really think with Dr. Stefano on building something. And I think at least 3 to 4 months of revisions from his side, from Lily's side, from the university side. It was quite a long process. For me, it was the first time I was applying for an European funding, so it was always an experience. And I always feel a beginner, because there are so many things that we don't know. But I think it's vital for anyone, and I think everyone that receives a European funding will know how essential it is to have a very good support from the national contact points, from the university, from the host institution. It's vital that these things work well from the beginning. And it's one of the grateful things is that the ones who are building a proposal feel also the support and the clarifications they need, and the revisions, which sometimes it's hard for a text to come dozens of comments and revisions, but it's really a process of highlighting what it's not clear. We were not funded the first time we applied. We were quite well evaluated. So not the best answer, although I have to say that the comments that come with the evaluation were extremely useful to rewrite the parts that were not so clear. And that is something that I really appreciate, because the comments are assertive, clear. They tell us exactly what has to be better explained, exactly what is not compatible, and it was essential for rewriting of some parts of the proposal. And it's true that even on the section that has the 20% we wrote, so it's true that every percentage, every point counts, and that was having the national contact points, the host institution support, and very good comments in the evaluation was essential to resubmit again. And when the response was, we were on the waiting list for Marie Curie, but we had got the ERA fellowship. So we tick that, and that was very exciting, of course. It's still very exciting to know. We started the grant agreements with the ERA fellowship, and a couple of months later, we were asked if we wanted to move to Marie Curie. So, the ERA fellowship is really, it's essential, and it's really an extra opportunity. And, I'm the proof that, because if we hadn't got the Marie Curie, we would still be able to do all the project exactly in the same conditions with the ERA fellowship. It's very important. And so 2 years later, or the first 2 years, more or less 2 years later from the first idea, email contacts, we were preparing a grant agreement. So sometimes it takes time, but it can happen. And I think maybe for someone who doesn't really have the courage to apply, I think choose a host institution, be sure that you have a good support, contact the national contact points are really to help. In my case, it's very helpful. And if one gets as the support that it's needed, I think we always gain, because it's an experience. We understand the language even for other fundings. It's a very good process, also as a learning process, to understand how these funding schemes are, and the changes they have every year. So my experience is, as a resume, is you really need to have support, and in my case, I really had it in an excellent way. So I think that's also vital, and it has been, in terms, for example, of the career prospects of everything that we read in the objectives of the call, for example. In my case, I've been exposed to to very international contexts, which I was not before. My expertise complements very well my host institutions. We are able to work and think of preparing other applications for other funding schemes, starting to enlarge our networks. The Institute is also part of a Marie Curie doctoral network that started functioning in the last few months. So we're starting to have, a larger exposure to the benefits of these funding schemes, also with all the work that it's part of making these making these projects also go ahead after the funding. But it's something that I think it's really, it's unique opportunities as a researcher, and I'm really talking as my personal experience. So I'm very grateful, and it's really something that I think everyone should consider. Thank you.
Thank you, Pedro. Thank you for explaining the process and your project, and also very much thank you for the nice words you said for the national contact points.
They are meant. They are very honest from my part.
So now I would like to open the floor from the audience. If there were any questions to Eleonora for the postdoctoral fellowship call, or to Pedro for the project and the process. I do not see any in the chat, but if somebody wants to, Anna, yes?
Yes. Hey, hello. My name is Anna, and I have a question about the eligibility, or let's say, so I'm in a situation when I'm not I don't work as a postdoc right now. I work as a project manager, but I would like to apply for this fellowship. So my question is, when do I have to become the postdoc again? Because do I have to be a postdoc at the moment of the proposal submission, or I have to be a postdoc again at the moment of if I will be successful, when the project will be starting actually? Because then like this.
So basically, for the eligibility requirement, you need to have a PhD degree already awarded,
Yes,
or the defense. So it's not relevant what are you working now at the moment, but also what is relevant is not to have more than 8 years full-time research experience, which working in administration will not count in that sense. So then you become the postdoc as soon as you get the fellowship.
So at the moment of the receiving of the fund, I will become the postdoc again, let's say.
Yes, exactly. Are you working at the University of Malta at the moment, or?
I work at the university in Prague, in Czech Republic.
In Prague, okay.
So I basically I stayed in the education sector, but I'm not a postdoc anymore. I'm a project manager, but I'd like to get back.
And in that case, you want to apply with a host institution in Malta, I presume.
Yes. Okay, thanks. Then I have two more questions. One is about the country correction coefficient. That means that's the country of my origin, or the country where the fellowship will be held?
The country where the fellowship will be held for Malta is 92.4%.
Okay, thank you. And then I want to ask about the structure of the CV, which will be uploaded with the application. Is there any form or suggestions how it should look like, or it's completely like up to us?
There is a template. It's
There's
like
template.
part of the you can use it and build on it, of course.
Okay, that's it. That's all for me. Thank you very much.
And then there is a question in the chat to Eleonora. Is there an additional allowance for the host organization to purchase any lab equipment, lab consumables, lab supplies for the project? And second question, and are there extra points awarded for finding a non-academic host for the 6 months placement at the end of the fellowship? Eleonora, would you like to reply, since the question is directly to you?
Yeah, here I am. So there is no additional allowance, okay? But this cost then can be covered. And as far as the non-academic placements, of course, this is evaluated, and if the non-academic placement is evaluated positively, meaning it's in line with the proposal objectives, it adds value, it increases the impact of your project, of your proposal. This obviously will be reflected in the evaluation and in the scores, but it's not that it earns you additional points. Okay, so this is more or less. If you intend to include an academic placement, make sure that it's not that it's in the non-academic sector, because this is a very common mistake. If by any chance the non-academic sector is not eligible, the project will not be penalized for that and will be evaluated as if the non-academic placement was kind of not included in the proposal. I hope that it's clear.
If I may add, for the non-academic placement, there are some statistics that show a little bit higher success rate for those that include the non-academic placement. So it's not the extra points that you get, but somehow applicants that include it have a bit higher success rate, are more successful in getting the fund.
It's not very popular, so yeah, but
yes.
we encourage. So it's very appreciated if by the
and yes, the other costs, they can be part of the research, training, and networking unit cost that goes to the host organization.
Yeah.
Are there more questions?
Lily, can I say something?
Yes.
Following the discussion that we have about the non-academic, similar to the logic for the postdoctoral fellowships, also for the doctoral networks, for the simplest mode, not the industrial doctorates, it's not mandatory to have industrial participation, but we are trying to encourage intersectoral collaboration. So there is a bit of a fine print there that by having more industrial participation, one can strengthen the training or the research overall. So yes, it is seen in a better way overall and in a more credible way in terms of intersectoral aspects. And maybe I can continue a little bit the thoughts of Pedro and his presentation. So one thing is definitely to dare to apply. It's not as an administrative process as many people have it in mind. So try to apply either for postdoctoral, for also for doctoral networks, but also for any other European funding. It's not as difficult as it may sound or as the perception may be. And by doing this, also you get some valuable feedback for your proposals. Having said that, Pedro said that it was very valuable feedback and that very objective. And this is what we aim for. At the same time, it's a peer review process, which means that the same proposal may receive different comments from different evaluators, and there is nothing wrong about it. It doesn't mean that the process has an issue, but it's exactly as a peer review of academic publication. You may receive different comments every time you send it. So please also take this into account, although that we try to make it as consistent as possible. When it comes to scientific views, this may differ for the different evaluators.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you for this feedback and comments. As I don't see any more questions at that point, and we are running a little bit late, I'm going to continue with the very last part of the session, which is my presentation about the support that we offer here in Malta. So basically, I'm a national contact point, and we provide a service of helping you to find partners in case, for example, let's say you're applying for the doctoral networks, or finding you the host organization and supervisors for the postdoctoral fellowship call. We also review the proposals, as also Pedro highlighted. We done that quite a few times, coming back with feedback. suggesting improvements and highlighting, let's say, missing parts and so on. We do not provide a review on the research part. Okay, so this is more about the structure and missing main elements and so on. We also organize dedicated workshops and trainings. This can be even on project management. Once you have the project, this can be proposal writing and so on. One-to-one meetings with any one of you that would like to have more questions or need to find out if the calls are suitable or not. We do have additional support schemes that I'm going to present in the next slides. So these support schemes that we have in Malta are using national budget, so budget from the Maltese government, but they aim to help you apply for Horizon Europe, and those three that I'm going to present are suitable for MSCA calls as well. So the first one is HiPass. Okay, so HiPass basically is for coordinators. Okay, so if you intend to be a coordinator for the Doctoral Networks call, or you will be the host organization for the Postdoctoral Fellowship call, you will be also considered as coordinator, and you may benefit from this additional funding to engage consultant, service provider, proposal writing experience company, let's say. So the call is open throughout the year. The first cutoff has been in April, but we have 2 more upcoming ones. So if you intend to apply for the Doctoral Networks or Postdoctoral Fellowship, you should apply by 19 July. Is a quick process. We have external evaluation apart from administrative check, of course. But generally it's a quick process, and we sign the grant agreement very quickly after the deadline, after the first cutoff, let's say maybe a month. So the funding is 6,000 euros for the normal Horizon Europe calls, including the Doctoral Networks. But then if you intend to apply for the Postdoctoral Fellowship, is only 2,500 euros. And the reason is because the application form is only 10 pages, and we saw from past experience that consultants usually charge much less for this call. Then you have 1 year, but let's say if you're applying now in the September or November call, then you should submit the documents that we require as soon as possible after. We work with reimbursement, okay? So you have to provide us then with the invoices and the receipts, and then we can cover the eligible costs. Otherwise, it's very simple. The application form is very simple. We want a project brief, it's just 500 words. And then we want to see the three proposal writers companies. This is because we want you to do a marketing research. We are not the one that is going to select them. You have to follow your internal rules. However, we want to see that these companies have experience. They can be based anywhere in the world. It's not a requirement that they have to be in Malta. So this is first one, especially suitable if you're applying for the Doctoral Networks call. Then we have something specific only for the Postdoctoral Fellowship call. It's called PF2MP. And so what is that? We are organizing a masterclass proposal writing for the Postdoctoral Fellowship call on 26 and 27 June. And here for applicants that are already based in Malta but intend to apply for the Global Fellowship, of course, the registration is free and they will not receive this additional funding. But for those applicants that are going to apply with a Maltese host and are based in Europe or third countries, we do provide this travel grant. So we have a flat rate for third countries is 2,000 euros, and for the EU member states and associated countries is 800 euros. The reason being because, of course, travel expenses are so much less if you travel from Europe to Europe, and so much higher nowadays if you travel from third countries. And this call is open until 7 June. Again, it's a very simple, very short application form where we want to see, of course, that you're eligible for the MSCA Postdoctoral Fellowship call. First, And second, that you have already found your host organization, identified the supervisor, and you have agreed to work together. I will double check with the supervisor that you're in contact and that the support will be provided. How the funding works. So you will receive 50% of the financing once you attend the masterclass, and then another 50% once you submit the proposal, no matter if you're successful or not. Of course, in the meantime, I will try as much as possible to help with your applications so that you will be successful. And then we have also another opportunity, which is brokerage events. It's more about networking opportunities called Net2HE. It also applies to the whole Horizon Europe program. Sometimes it's very rare, but even for MSCA, there are events, brokerage events being organized where you can go and network and find partners for your potential MSCA events. In fact, for example, even there was a recent the MSCA presidency event, and we did support 2 applicants to attend it. This is again a simple travel grant, and we cover the flights up to 750 euros from the actual cost, and we cover up to 150 euros per night for the accommodation. The event should be taken place in Europe or associated countries. Is not allowed to travel somewhere in a third country in this case. And just I would like to mention additional funding that we have for MSCA here in Malta, apart from the ERA fellowships, which is already a second chance for your proposals. If you apply for the MSCA postdoctoral fellowship call, we do benefit a lot from the ERA fellowships. Then we also have an additional funding. So this is the ERDF transfer to Horizon Europe, and we selected that this will be applied for us for the MSCA postdoctoral fellowship calls, because it has to be a mono-beneficiary action. For this reason, Doctoral Networks is not going to be eligible, but the postdoctoral fellowships, yes. And in fact, what is important is that, of course, the score should be above 70% or above threshold. So once you submit your proposal, you might have more chances to be funded, even if you do not be selected from the MSCA or the ERA fellowships. So last year we funded 5 postdoctoral fellowship projects, and this year we're going to fund another 4. So yes, this is already your 3rd chance. So for those fellows that are going to apply for this call, it's once again bonus if you choose Malta for your project. And just additional support, apart from reviewing your proposals and replying to all the queries you might have and questions and one-to-one meetings and so on. There is the MSCA Net project. This project is a project for the NCPs, but also for the scientific communities. And there are some very useful tools that I really highly encourage you to use. So if you're applying for the doctoral networks or the postdoctoral fellowship course, there is the handbooks. These handbooks are available on the website. You will receive the link to the website. Do not pay attention that is marked as the year 2022. Now the latest version is for 2023, and very soon we'll have the 2024 one, but the difference will be very minor. So do not worry, you can use already the 2023 version. And what this handbook is about, it gives you tips, suggestions on what to include under each section, under each subsection, and what not to include, and so on. So it's a very good tool to follow just next to your proposal. So once you write the proposal, please refer to each one of these sections. It's really, really useful. And to all the applicants that I suggested it, I believe that they have a higher score after following these handbooks. And there is also the MSCA matchmaking platform. Once again, I included the link here, but this is a platform where especially if you are applying for doctoral networks or staff exchanges even, you can find partners. Or else you can just express your interest in the marketplace where you will be approached maybe from host institutions for the postdoctoral fellowship call or from any other MSCA calls to join consortiums that are being formed. Or the other way, if you're going to be the coordinator, you will be able to find relevant partners for your proposal. These are some links to be in touch with us, to follow our events. Even the recording from this session will be put on the YouTube for your reference. We have Facebook and LinkedIn accounts as well. And about the local funding opportunities that I mentioned, the support schemes, they will be placed on, they are already available on our MCST website. So you will receive the links and more details with these presentations after the session. And that's my email address for those that maybe do not know me. Do not hesitate to get in touch. And that was the end of my presentation. I don't know if everything was clear. If somebody has any questions about it, we're a little bit late, but maybe we can spare a few minutes. Okay, and in the meantime, we have a very quick feedback form. Please, before you leave, it's just 2-3 questions. To reply, it will appear on, it's already appeared on your screens. If there are any questions, please put them on the chat box or just raise your hand and open your microphone.